Jack, afternoon. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. Can you just go through the changes you made and why?
Well, I don't really remember the changes. I mean, Cobus Wiese come back from injury. Johan Goosen's come back from injury. Well, come back from injury. He needs to get a start now. He's been playing off the bench. Embrose has had a bit of a break to give Zach some game time. Sebastian back from suspension. So he's now eligible. And then who's the other guy? Kanan came into the starting lineup, also had some game time last week off the bench. So a little bit, Carl, I suppose, a little bit of guys now being integrated into the squad. And now they're good enough to get a start, as in fit enough and healthy enough to get a start. So, and then with that, trying to keep some of the combinations going. So Giannis is there. Cameron played last week with Marcel, so it was the same loose trio combination. Yeah, and then the bench Nazam comes in because he obviously offers us 6, 7, and 8, and a little bit older, a little bit more experienced. So he comes in just to balance the bench a bit.
Everybody said in South Africa that you can be excused for taking this game not too serious, as you have the liberty of the position that you currently have on the log. But with this team, it doesn't look as if you are accepting a defeat as part of your plan.
Yeah, well, I mean, we never accepted defeat, to be honest. I mean, as I said, we had a big club, and the expectation at our club from everybody within it and with our, people that have been here before is that the Bulls don't go into any game where we're going to accept defeat. So, I mean, we got, as it stands now, we've got 5 games left. We've got 4 pool rounds and then a quarterfinal. And the reason I say that, we've probably done enough to get into the top 8, which means at this stage of the season, we've got 5 games left that are guaranteed. The sweetener now is to see where we finish in the 8. And then, hopefully we get to the quarterfinals, we're good enough to play and win that one, play the semis, win that one, and get to the final, which means maximum 7 games for us this season left. And as a coaching staff and as a director, we're working hard to see whether or not we get our best combinations available for the next 7 fixtures. And as I said, guaranteed 5, hopefully 7.
Jake, just this match, just what does it mean in terms of, well, let me put it this way. It's an important match for the Bulls to find out where they are at this stage of the season, especially against Munster away game.
And we haven't beaten Munster, I don't think, Cobus. I mean, I say that, I mean, I'm not sure, but I don't think we've beaten Munster. So they're one team that are difficult to beat. I think they've beaten us. And if we've won, they've beaten us many more times than we've beaten them. So it's a good yardstick to see where we are. And we could quite easily, the way it is now, even, I mean, I'm sure Munster would be there and thereabouts in the playoffs as well. Glasgow, we got next week, will be there and there in the playoffs as well. I think they're almost guaranteed of being in as well. So it could quite easily be that we would play Munster and Glasgow in 2 consecutive weekends if we want to win the competition as well. And we might possibly have to play them away as well. So it is more than just the 80 minutes this week about us against Munster. It's also to measure ourselves in 2 consecutive weekends against a team like Munster and Glasgow, which Glasgow champions of last year and Munster champions the year before. So it's not an easy... it's not an easy 2-week stint for us, especially on the back of the fact that we've played 2 games before this, against tough opposition. But if we want to win the competition, we're going to have to be good enough to beat a side like Munster and a side like Glasgow on way to winning the competition. So it is a game, and I don't want to say a big game because every game we play is a big game, but it's a game where we can measure ourselves the next 2 weekends about what we need in order to beat these teams in playoff rugby, which is on the cards based on the fact where we are in the log.
I just had a quick look. I mean, obviously you're 2-2 against Munster, but no South African side has ever won in Limerick. So, I mean, that's obviously what you just alluded to. And also the weather is not too bad. I mean, there's rain in the morning, but, it's overcast, and the wind, I think at best is 25 kilometers an hour. Does that give you a bit more comfort to know that you don't have to deal with all that adverse weather conditions or conditions in general?
Yeah, and I'm smiling because I tell you what, if you haven't been to Ireland, which I'm sure you have, there's no guarantee that there's no rain at a certain time. The weather changes here in 5 minutes. They say if you don't like the weather in Ireland, just wait 5 minutes. So I'm smiling because there's, as I said, Thomond Park is an unbelievable place to play. It's I can see why, and I mean I know why, and I can see why teams struggle to win here. I mean it's an incredible place. I mean there's photographs, as I said, in the hotel of All Blacks playing Munster, and there's photographs of Ronan O'Gara kicking for poles, and there's photographs down the passage of Munster teams that have won European Cups in a hotel. I mean, I'm talking about, I can't think that the hotels that we have close to our stadium have pictures of the Bulls winning Super Rugby. So it just tells you how big and how passionate people are about rugby in this area. So I go back to what I said, the weather changes. It's a tough place to play. I can see why teams don't win here. But the one thing that I'm excited about. No one beat Bayonne this year and we got it right. No one beat Leinster this year and we got it right. No one's beaten SAA for a long time and we got it right. No one, there's a lot of things this group of players have done along the way that weren't supposed to happen. We beat Leinster in a semi-final. They also haven't lost there for a while. So, that's the nice thing about sport is it gives us an opportunity to play at the stadium, play against a team that is very difficult to beat at home. And it's a great, opportunity for us to see again whether we can get things right that other teams haven't got right. And I'm comfortable. That team I've selected and the team that you've now seen is a strong team. It's it gives me confidence that if we play well enough, there's no reason why we can't get a result. And that is what we need. Not just for this weekend. We need it for confidence to go forward in the knockout stages of this competition. You need to be playing well when you go into the knockouts, and a result tomorrow will only help us get more confidence.
Finally, I'm not expecting you to give tactics away, but what aspect of your game do you think requires most attention or has been given most attention this week to ensure you get the result?
Yeah, tactically, I mean, obviously there are things you have to do well against Munster. I mean, we've seen now as well. I mean, we've had a tough game, and I say that we've had a few tough games in a row. But let's be fair to Munster. Last week they played Bordeaux away as well. I mean, that's in a in a massive game for them as well. So I would think, tactically we need to be smart, and I'm not going to tell you what smartness is versus them. But what I will say, Jan, is you're going to have to play well to beat them, like you saw Bordeaux did last week. And historically, they in this competition, they won it 2 years ago. They've been around the playoffs every single year, whether they've started badly or well. And I would suspect that nothing's going to change. I would say that you need to match them when it comes to the things they do well, and you need to find a way to be tactically aware of the things they don't like. Because when they get the things that they like against you, they're very good at it. So I just think emotionally it's going to be one of those games after both of us losing in the quarterfinals of our European Cup campaigns. The ability for us to, and for them, which I expect, is to have a rebound performance, and that is something that I'm looking to get from the group tomorrow as well, is that there's a rebound based on the fact that we didn't play our best last week.
Just quickly, I know I said last one, but the team has just landed, and obviously they've got Crowley and Casey at fly scrum off, and they've got Takir Abrams at fullback. I mean, that obviously poses a different challenge.
It does, but it's probably not. It's not the way Munster will play against us. I mean, I'm saying having Takir at fullback is we've played against him many times, as I said, in South Africa. But Munster just offer a different challenge. And I mean, you look at their back row, they're all tall. You know, you look at their forwards, they're a big pack of forwards. And Casey, I mean, he's been their go-to man. And then you've got Conor Murray on the bench. So, I mean, it just shows you that the caliber of players they can bring on as well. I mean, imagine Conor Murray, who's got so many test matches, never mind Munster caps, can come on in the game. So I suppose what I'm sort of jumping around for you, Jan, but I can understand why they're so good. You know, I think that it's sort of what I've been saying to you guys for a long time, is that's the caliber of player they have. They've got lots of injuries, and yet when you read the makeup of that team and you see, you know, the kind of players they have and the number of caps they have, I think tomorrow one of their players is celebrating his 300th game. Now, I mean, I've said it to you many times. I wonder how long it's going to take for one of our South African players to get to 300 games, if he ever will. And that, I mean, that is something that I think we must never underestimate, is having the caliber of players who've got 200, 300 caps for their province. Just shows you, you know, how settled the club is. I'm talking about from their point of view. And it's going to be, I mean, for me, I'm looking forward to it, because I want to see where we are. And if we want to win this competition, which we do, and we believe we can, I'm talking about it, and I'm saying if we believe we can, well, then we have to be able to be good enough to beat Munster in Munster. You know, we have to be good enough to beat Glasgow in Glasgow, and we definitely have to be good enough to maybe beat Leinster in Leinster, because they now in the last 2 weeks they've shown in big competitions against big teams how good they really are. And if you understand that, which I'm sure you all do, and we understand that, then tomorrow and Saturday next week is going to be a very, very good reflection of where we are as a group and where we are at the back end of a competition. So I'm excited. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom the way I'm making it, as though I'm excited. It's a good team we put on, got some nice experience there. You know, we can match them in most areas with that group of players. So hopefully we'll be smart enough in the areas we need to control to make sure that we get a result tomorrow.
Jake, very strong team that you guys put out. A couple of issues you guys had last week at line-out time and in defense. Are you confident that you guys have fixed that going into the match tomorrow?
Yeah. I mean, it's a different challenge altogether. I mean, last week was a 4G. We gave them 21 points while we had 14 men on the field. Yeah, I wouldn't single out and say the line out was. I just think there were a couple of things that we did that we could have done differently. And, you know, one game doesn't lead into the other game, JJ. What I meant is, you know, we get those things right, there'll be other challenges tomorrow that we could possibly get from Munster. So, you know, we got to get those things right for every game, you know, and the things that we need to get right are, as I said, will not only help us against Munster, will help us against all the other opposition as well. But I think it's a strong team, as I said. There are not many guys. You know, we got Willie and Marco that are not available this week. Willie is obviously still coming back, and Marco, you know, congratulations to him. He's gone back to join his wife this week in the birth of their second child. So, you know, that once they get back to 2 more Springboks that will come back and join us in the next couple of weeks, and then, as I said, hopefully we'll be able to build on the momentum of what we have now on tour. But I'm very excited. I mean, I would like to reaffirm to you guys is the jigsaw puzzles coming together. Some guys are back from injury. You know, some guys have had rest. Some guys are now, you know, had enough game time to get starts. So if you look at our team, you know, we got a couple of Springboks across the board, and we got some Springboks coming back and on the bench now. So hopefully, as I said, if we can just keep them fit and as in injury free, we can build on this next week, this week, and obviously the next couple of playoff games into the playoffs, so that we can make sure that we have our best combinations playing their best rugby.
Away teams tend to rest their key players. Is this your strongest side possible against a very good Munster side, and possibly get one over them, more like a revenge match?
No, Nathan. Said it to you many times. No revenge. I mean, why would there be a revenge match? I mean, what have they done that they deserve a revenge? No, No, it's a side. I'm repeating myself. It's the side that we have now. It's the best side we can put on the field. I'm very confident, with what we've done now. And we've, if I just use Ruan Nokia, Goosen, Embrose, Papier as examples, we've had to give them game time to find their feet to come in. We've done that now. They now should be ready to start. Ideally, we would like Cobus Wiese to have had some game time now. He's also come straight into the match. So you're never going to get the perfect fit with the all 23. But I'm hoping now this is the beginning of a 5-game stint where we can start putting the best combinations on the field and the best players that are available post-injury, post-resting, post, time off with family, etc., because of, family commitments. I'm hoping now, as I said, that from tomorrow and building into the next 4 weeks or 4 games, that we can now keep the squad together and put the little pieces together of what we've been lacking, whether it's finishing lineouts, whether it's been finishing in the 22, whether it's been defensively being sharper and not committing penalties at the breakdown, all the little things that we now putting together that we can play our best the next 5 games.
Hi, Jake. Harry, my friend, was joking this week that Munster's lineout last week was the worst lineout in the history of lineout and the history of all lineouts. They couldn't buy a lineout. What did you think of their lineout performance, and do you think they'll be, they would have improved this week?
Well, no doubt. I mean, MV, if you look at their lineout, they've now got Scannell back, who's an international hooker. He was on the bench last week, and with him there, I'm sure that firstly that, a lot more experienced and understands, not that I'll take anything away from the guy who started. I'm just saying that they've welcomed him back, an international hooker. Their lineout, if you look at the makeup of their team this week, they've gone for, tall timber at the back of the lineout as well, which means that they're obviously going to take their lineout a lot more serious. So there are a lot of, it would be wrong of me now, because I'm not going to tell you that their lineout was creaky. Our lineout lost a few lineouts last week as well. So people could say, the Bulls lineout at crucial times last week was also a bit frail. And that's what teams do. There were a lot of things that we got wrong last week that we've spoken about and we want to get right this week. A lot of things that I'm sure Munster did poorly last week that they would want to get right this week. And that's what happens from week to week, Wimbier. There are things in your game that you try and get right, and you try and get all parts of your game and all facets of your game to be 100%, which is the secret of success. So. Yeah, Harry was quite right. That to their standards, I'm sure they would accept that their lineout let them down at crucial times, as ours did last week against Edinburgh. So it'll be an area that we would have spent time on, and I'm sure that with their coaching staff and with what they know, and with their selections that you have now seen, you look at the selection of their team, they've obviously gone for experience in all those positions and height in the back of the lineout as well, which always helps hookers when it comes to their lineout accuracy, when you've got 3, 4, 5 guys that you can throw to in the lineout.
Just in terms of the scrum, it's now widely acknowledged the Bulls probably have the best scrum, at least in the URC, probably in club rugby worldwide. But the addition, the comeback of Wiese and Ruan moving back to 5, a bit more bulk, would that benefit the scrum, do you think, as well?
Yeah, well, Cobus is obviously a heavy tight head lock, and he scrums behind Wilco. All teams will know that, when you have a strong tight head and you have some weight behind him, that always helps. And also the other thing in there, which is very much different to what we've experienced, is we're going to be playing on a grass pitch. We played on 4G last week, and at times, probably that doesn't help guys like Wilco when you're playing on 4G pitches. So hopefully tomorrow, but they've also got a strong scrum. Ollie Jaeger and Scannell, and Wycherley they're not easy props to scrum against. So, I'm not for 1 minute saying just because it's grass and just because we have Cobus there, that therefore everything will fit into place or everything will be easy. It'll still be a tough day out for us, because they've got a strong forward pack as well, and they're not going to give us anything for nothing. But I am saying again, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. it's a Jan-Hendrik Springbok, Akke Springbok, Wilco Springbok, Rowan Nokia Springbok, Marcel Springbok, Cameron Springbok, Nizam on the bench Springbok, Cobus on the bench Springbok. So it's a good test for us as a group, and it's going to be an interesting game because I think there's opportunities for both teams to do things that are going to put either team under pressure.
Last year, you were a bit worried about this time of year about running out of players almost. Remember, you were worried that the injuries were going to catch up to you and players having to rest and the compulsory stuff and that. But it seems to be working out nicely. And I was wondering about the game against Glasgow next week as well, and then 2 easier games back at home. I want to say easier in inverted commas almost, but. Are you going to juggle that just to make sure that you reach the quarterfinal, but you make sure that you get to the end of the season with your best players, like you've mentioned before?
MVA, what's actually been a blessing, and it's not by chance, and I mean it's by default because we really wanted to beat Edinburgh and play in the semi-finals of the Challenge Cup. But as it stands now, we've got 2 weeks on, 1 week off, 2 weeks on, 1 week off, because that's the final of the EPCR. And then 3 weeks on if we play every single game in our playoff. So it's actually worked out nicely, and I'm talking about from a planning point of view, that you can go hard for 2 weeks, have a week off to recover, 2 weeks back home, and then week off while the final of EPC is on, and then 3 week stint, which is if you compare to what we've had to go through the season with long tours, long back-to-back games, 4 derbies in a row, some players 8-9 weeks on tour because of their BOK commitments. Then in effect is the next sort of block of 2 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off, 3, if we get to that 3, and as I said, without being ahead of ourselves, but then potentially going quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals, is it's quite a nice balanced way to finish the season. Yes, it's 2 away games that are tough, and it's 2 home games that are obviously easier to prepare because of the fact that you're at home, especially because you've had a week off before that. 1 quarterfinal, which I'm hoping goes our way, and we will then be at home. And hopefully, I suppose, if we can really package it in MVA, is if we get some good results in the next 4 weeks, we'll have a semi-final at home as well. Now, that's not a bad place to be if you get all the cards falling in your favor. So 2 weeks away, 2 weeks at home, a quarterfinal at home, and if you've done well in these last 4 or 5 weeks, you could have a semi-final and at home as well, and that's why Munster, Glasgow are significantly important games for us as a group, as they are to both those teams as well, because we're all so close. We beat Glasgow. That's like an 8-point swing, and they've still got to play Leinster. They could lose that game again, and we could end up second. So, I mean, it's all to play for now, which I suppose I'm repeating to you guys. I'm excited about, because there's a lot on the game and on the next 2 weeks for us as a group, as well as there is for both Munster and Glasgow.
Yeah, we love it when a plan comes together, Jake. Good luck.
Thank you.
Jake, kan ek jou vra? Jy het nou in Engels gesê, one match does not lead to another match. Kan ek jou egter vra, coach, dra jy en jou span enige letsels van verlede naweek se wedstryd en geestelike letsels van verlede naweek se wedstryd, en kon julle oor die laaste paar dae julleself die stof afskud en julleself regkry vir hierdie groot wedstryd môre?
Ja, nee, ons dra nie letsels nie. Dit was 'n geleentheid vir ons, Percival, en ek dink soos almal voel, jy weet, was 'n kans wat ons kon gevat het, en ons het miskien dit verbrou, jy weet, vir alle redes. Miskien te stadig begin, jy weet, miskien uit tyd gehardloop. Ek dink as daai game nog 5-6 minute aangegaan het ons definitief, jy weet, hulle nommer gehad op die einde. So, maar dis nie 'n kwessie van, jy weet, dis hoe sport werk, jy weet, ons het die laaste paar jaar, ons het nou 2 URC finale verloor. Jy weet, ons het nou 2 keer in die kwart eind verloor teen Northampton en Edinburgh. Maar ek is ook van die gevoel dat ons is nog steeds besig om dinge bymekaar te sit. Jy weet, ons span is nog nie waar ons wil wees nie. Almal besef dit. Ons sê nie dis hoekom, dis 'n rede en dis aanvaarbaar om dan op daai pylvlak te laat val nie. Maar Ja, ons het nie in hierdie week ingegaan met die gevoel dat alles is vir, jy weet, is niks werd nie. Jy weet, ons is nog steeds lewendig in die URC. Ons daar is groot geleentheid vir ons om tuis te speel al in die kwart en die semifinaal. So ons het baie om uit te sien en om terug te kyk en negatief te wees oor wat gebeur het verlede week, verlede jaar, die jaar voor dit is nie wie ons is nie. So dit is 'n les wat ons geleer het, dit is 'n les wat seermaak, maar ek is seker daarvan in die volgende, jy weet, volgende 5, 6, 7 weke en die volgende jaar of 2 of 3 of 4 gaan hierdie groep bulle verstaan van die belangrikheid van elke wedstryd wat ons elke week mekaar herinner.
En dan het laastens, Jake, jy praat met baie optimisme oor, ek wil amper sê 'n langtermynplan. Realiteit is sport gaan oor resultate. Jy praat van julle moontlike tuis kwartfinale tydens halffinale moontlik maak. So julle sal wedstryde môre teen Munster, volgende week teen Glasgow moontlik moet wen om 'n moontlike uitklopwedstryde tuis te host.
100%. En ek moet optimisties wees, Percival. As ek nie optimisties is en ek sê vir jou nee, ons is nou, jy weet, niks kans nie en ons gaan, dan hoe kan ek verwag dat die spelers in die groep wat ek nou deel is kan so voel, jy weet. So ek is optimisties en ek is optimisties nie net vir hierdie jaar nie, vir volgende jaar nie, volgende jaar. Ek dink al die lesse wat ons nou gekry het, weer net nou vir my gesê wat eintlik interessant is. Ek is baie beter toegepas hierdie jaar met beserings en wie kom terug en wat ek was 'n jaar terug. So dit beteken, jy weet, ek is optimisties. Ek dink ons kry dit nou reg. Ek kry wat daar's maar meer en meer spelers wat ek nou vertroue het wat 'n job kan doen vir ons. En jy weet, ons is nog nie waar ek wil 20 springbokke. Ek wil graag 20 springbokke, 23 springbokke in elke game kan in die span sit, maar ons is nog nie daar nie, maar ek kan vir jou sê optimisties is ek. Jy weet, ons het nou 'n slegte jaar gehad en ons het die kwart gekry van European Rugby. Ons is derde op die punteleer van URC. As ons 'n slegte jaar kry en dis wat ons gaan uitkry, dan moet ek net vir jou sê, kan jy begin dink as ons goeie jare agter die blad kan kry.
Saving the best for last, eh? How's it, Jack?
It's like if you don't eat your vegetables, you can't have your pudding, eh?
Jake, from your very recent experience of Edinburgh and the team that John Plumtree's been able to pick, any thoughts on how that game tonight might pan out? I'm sure you'll be an interested observer with your feet up.
Yeah, Mike. I think it's one of the strongest provincial sides I've ever seen coming out of South Africa, the Sharks. Can you show me how they can make it stronger? Because I can't understand who they can pick that's stronger than that. Only thing that I think which will be interesting is to see how they will click based on the fact they haven't played for a while. And the other thing is it's 4G, so it's a very, very different. It's a very, very different challenge when you play on 4G because of the fact that we don't play our games as often and as, we don't train as often on 4G as those Scottish teams do. Both Glasgow and Edinburgh have got 4G pitches. And so a lot of those players are used to training and playing games back to back on 4G pitches. But, I looked at that Sharks team and that's an incredible provincial side that they've put together there. And, as I said to you just now, Mike, I'm optimistic about where we are, but they also just a couple of points behind us or whatever, and one position behind us. And if you look at who they've got coming back and you look at what their last 4 or 5 games looks like, they're also in a very good position. So, I suppose I haven't really answered your question other than the fact that I don't think there's the one factor of 4G and the fact that Edinburgh are on a bit of a high now, having qualified for semi-finals. I think it's the first time in a long time that they've qualified for, a competition that high up in the competition and that far into a competition means that they're also going to be very confident and very difficult to beat at home. But I will watch with interest, as I said. It doesn't really have an effect on where we are and where we end up because, whether Sharks finish ahead of us or below us or close to us means we're still going to have to beat sides like Glasgow, Edinburgh, Munster, in order to win this competition. So what we can do is just focus on what we've got ahead of us, and that's Munster, Glasgow, and obviously then the playoffs, whether they're home or away, whoever they're against is going to make no difference. We're going to have a team that's strong enough. And who knows, maybe even to beat that Sharks team that, that I've said is probably one of the strongest provincial sides I've seen Sharks have in the last 15 years.